Welcome to the Talking Shh podcast. That's right. We'll be talking about music, albums, live shows, bands we love, bands not so much. Again, we're talking shh. Join me, Scott Nokon, and Stephen James. Hey guys, and welcome back to another show. This is episode 45. 45 into it. Tonight, we're going to talk about The Who, the band, not Who, The Who.
Nice.
A little bit of info for you, Stephen. Again, we're both fans, but to kind of set the stage, formed in 1964 in London, England, featuring Roger Daltrey vocals, Pete Townshend guitar, John Entwistle bass, and Keith Moon on drums.
Moon the Loon, they called him.
Yeah. Initially, they were performing under the name The Detours.
Yep.
But good for them. They went to The Who. So, hey, they changed the name to The Who and quickly gained a reputation for their energetic live performances and instrument smashing antics. They have. So I remember, and we'll weave all this in. We'll do some history and kind of highlight some of the records and some key points, and certainly want your because you threw this recommendation out, Stephen, which is awesome. And may I have a sip of a beverage?
And while you do that, and the reason why is, and just a real quick retro back to my late mid 70s starting to play drums, is that my brother, who was really the most influential person that turned me on to not only prog rock, all kinds of different types of music, and no, it wasn't Kiss, but The Who was part of it. And I remember first watching it because I don't know how there was a concert. I remember watching a concert or something on TV. I don't remember back what the technology was back then. I remember going, this is fucking suck. Sorry, my language. This is BS. I didn't like it. And then after that, my brother was like, let me just school you a little bit on this band.
Yeah.
Listen to the drummer. There's a couple of songs I want you to hear, and listen to the drums. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I guess I was in the wrong by passing judgment before I really got a chance to do it. So yeah, it's because of my brother is why I like The Who.
No, that's awesome. I'm trying to think back. The first, I guess that the first kind of memory I'll have is going to school in 1984 and got picked up by the carpool and listening. Probably, we listen to different stations, but I'm thinking it was KLOS or something like that,
or KMET.
So one of those. Yeah, absolutely. And in 84, as we're driving, they announced the farewell tour of The Who in 1984. They're still playing.
Yeah.
It's 2025. So that's a long tour, right? Definitely. It's hard to say goodbye, but in that's definitely the first time I kind of remember The Who. I started listening to them. Sure, I could have had, I've said this on past shows. My brother, I guess he gets credit. He doesn't get credit for much, but I guess he gets credit for at least me walking by his room and hearing Van Halen for the first time.
Oh man.
And then I discovered Sabbath later just by listening to, again, KMET or KLOS.
Right.
This show, The Seventh Day, was on either of those. And the DJ who did it was Jim Ladd. So that was something I'd sit up late at night. Yeah, sit up late at night and just have my ghetto blaster. Yeah. Going, and I would record the shows, and then I got a whole stockpile of cassette tapes. So anyway, back in 84, here we are in 25, the reunion tour was announced. Farewell tour was announced.
And as our drummer was Kenny Baker then, because obviously Keith Moon had already passed. I think his name's Kenny Baker. That's stupid if I don't know. It's like, it's got to be Kenny. His name is Kenny Baker. Anyhow,
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. So let's kind of run through their albums, right? There's a storied career for sure. So The Who, My Generation, 1965. Again, that song, My Generation, one of the all-time iconic rock songs. And
Yes.
it's wild. And you, as you go through the career, which we'll hit on, you look at how prolific they were in the 60s and going into the 70s. And then there was a big jump from 82 to 2006. And we'll explain that. But I was doing some catching up on their catalog the last couple of days on my way to work. And you notice definitely a progression as it relates to just the production.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the songwriting. And one of the records that I really stayed on longer than the other was Who's Next? And I'll jump ahead of that in a second, but released in 1971 is just like, God, this 54 years old. Baba O'Reilly, Won't Get Fooled Again. One of my all-time favorite songs from The Who is Behind Blue Eyes.
Great song.
In Bargain. But you got bangers one after the next. It seemed in that record, after the third or fourth song, it got kind of mellow, and then it picked up again, like in track 7, 8, 9, 10. I think there was 10 tracks on that. But again, a wide range of kind of styles and influences that you could kind of notice in there. And certainly, I think one of the classic elements of the Who is Roger Daltrey and Pete Townshend trading off on vocals.
Yes.
And what an impact it did on those songs and records. So 65, My Generation. 66, a quick one. It was, the very next year. Boris the Spider, a quick one, While He's Away, So Sad About Us, Heat Wave. I'm not really that familiar with that record.
No, I'm not either.
67, The Who, Sell Out, I Can See for Miles. Great song.
Yeah.
Mary Ann and the Shaky Hand, Tattoo, Armenia City, and the Sky. Again, still some deep cuts. Tommy.
Definitely deep.
In 69, Pinball Wizard, See Me, Feel Me, I'm
Elton
Free,
John.
The Acid Queen. Such a great record.
Yeah.
Live at Leeds came out in 70. Live record.
It's crazy.
Live at Leeds. Summertime Blues, Young Man Blues, Magic Bus, My Generation, the live version. Who's Next, I talked about earlier, was in 71. 73, Quadrophenia, Love Reign Over Me, O'er Me, as it's spelled out.
The way the English.
The Real Me, again, such a good song and record. The Who by Numbers in 75, Squeezebox, Streaming from the Waist. The Who Are You? Who Are You? Not the Who Are You? Who Are You? 78, Who Are You?
For You.
Yeah, that's such a great song. Sister Disco, Trick of the Light, Guitar and Pen. Face Dances in 81. You Better You Bet. That might be my favorite. I said Behind Blue Eyes, but I think You Better You Bet might be my favorite Who song. Another Tricky Day, Don't Let Go of the Coat, How Can You Do It Alone? 82, this is your favorite, It's Hard. Eminence Front, that's right there near
that's
the
my
top.
favorite Who song.
So I'll say this, so that way we're different, and that's fine. You Better You Bet would be my number one. Eminence Front would be your number one. Behind Blue Eyes is number two. You could pick a whole other S-load of songs. Then this is where they jumped. So from 82, their next release is until 2006. Endless Wire, not familiar at all with that record. And then 2019, Who, Ball and Chain, All This Music Must Fade, I Don't Want to Get Wise, Beads on a String.
I have to go back to the album. It's Hard, real quick, because
I figured you would.
Front, there's a song in there called Athena, which is a great song too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Kind of a fun little bebop type thing. And then for those that don't know, and I'm sure those that do know, that back in 64, 5, when they first started, was the huge Vespa craze. They were all riding the Vespas, and they had like 20 mirrors on each one of them.
They had all the mirrors and everything.
Yeah. So kind of interesting to see how the progression of where they were and what they are now. And real quick, just to add that those that don't know, and I believe in 1999, Zach Starkey, who is the son of Ringo Starr, has been their go-to drummer since then. And
that's right.
Last time I saw anything live from them was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and he's actually playing electronic drum, DW electronic drums in it, which is kind of cool because a lot of times you'll see now, and when you see bands play, there's this like a plexiglass in front of the drummer, and when I first saw that, I thought, how's this so stupid? And I guess what it is, it's the frequencies of cymbals that blast into the microphones. I'm like, if I ever see Pantera do that, I'm pulling the plug.
Yeah.
But you see a lot of drummers now. I even see it on Green Day. There's a couple of them where I believe the frequency, and I think that's what it is. I've seen drummers that have been completely encased in it, and I thought, what is that going on? I know I just completely derailed off of our topic, but
no, you didn't. It's all related.
Go back to Keith Moon, and real quick, one quick story, and I know everybody's seen this, and I don't know what show they were playing on, where Keith had put some sort of an explosive in his bass drum, and at the end of the song, it blew. You can see Pete go like this, and that is what has led to his deafness in his ear, was that triggering that explosion, that bass drum. So if you guys want to Google that, it's kind of interesting to watch.
I do remember hearing that, yeah, and that falls right in line. Let me just pick up what you've kind of put out there, Stephen, with the kind of major albums and events. So we just listed every record, right? But kind of the major albums and events. 1969, Tommy. There was the rock opera about a deaf, dumb, and blind kid. Pinball Wizard, See Me, Feel Me. Pinball Wizard. There we go. See Me, Feel Me.
Such a great record.
It is, yeah. And I went through, and that was the one that I listened to completely from beginning to end as well. Yeah. And yeah, just such a strong production, and in that, and this is something that I've always wanted to get in the songs that we've put out and we've worked on over the years and with others, is kind of layering of the different sounds, layering of the different different instruments, and it just creates that full thickness to it. And again, it just like you can pick up an entirely different kind of trail that's going on with how they intertwine all that. So that's always stood out to me and is really representative of just like a good solid product. But Tommy, that rock opera.
A couple other really sorry, go ahead. No, I just to say a couple other notable songs is Won't Get Fooled Again. And another one which is good, you just mentioned Love, Rain or Me. The Squeeze Box. I mean, there's people that like the Who and the people that don't like the Who.
Yeah,
they're the amount of effort that's put into every one of these albums is how they've all changed. And another one of the reasons why I really liked, because I also play bass guitar, and John Entwistle was one of those that was like, oh, this guy just knows how to pull it off. He was, and if you hear interviews with them, they said he was the most musically taught musician out of the entire band.
Yeah. So, nice. No, for sure. Some other notable events. 1969 Woodstock.
Yeah.
They performed there, as we know, and they really cemented their place in rock history. In 70, Live at Leeds, touted one of the greatest live albums of all time.
Yep.
71, Who's Next, their most acclaimed album, featuring Bob O'Reilly, Behind Blue Eyes, and Won't Get Fooled Again. That also, Who's Next, sold 5+ million, as reported by SoundScan. I'll run through all the record sales as well, Stephen. 73, awesome. Quadrophenia, another rock opera. Their second one, detailing mod culture in the 60s. Again, you talked about the Vespas that all fell in there. Love, Rain or Me, and 515 were key tracks. 78, death of Keith Moon. Tragically passed away due to a drug overdose. Let's hit on really quick kind of the post-Moon era and their continued influence. So this now is kind of 1979 up till now. You were right earlier. You talked about who was the next drummer. I don't know if you can really replace Keith Moon, right?
No.
But the next drummer, Kenny Jones.
Oh, Kenny Jones. I said Kenny Baker. I don't. Oh, who Kenny Baker was? He played R2D2. Sorry,
I was going to say. I was going to say.
Guys, I know everybody's going to start throwing daggers at me, like you should know your. Kenny Jones, and got by the way, got a bunch of flack. Imagine stepping into the shoes of
Oh
Keith
yeah.
Moon, and he was a great drummer. He was in the pocket, solid, wasn't trying to be flashy, wasn't trying to be Keith Moon. He just wanted to play the drums and got a lot of crap for it. So, bummer.
It's an impossible position to step into.
Absolutely.
Key releases and events post Moon era: 81 Face Dances, first album post Moon featuring You Better You Bet, and great track. 82, talked about it, but It's Hard with Eminence Front, followed by, again, yeah, this was fun, followed by their farewell tour, which was, remember hearing about that. And maybe it was 82. To me, it stood out in 84, but maybe it was 82 since they talked about it. Definitely, I was in grade school in a van going to class. 89, their 25th anniversary tour. So they went from farewell to their anniversary tour in 89. 96. Wow. 96 Quadrophenia Tour Revival. Yep. 2000, The Who regroup with Zach Starkey on drums. 2002, John Entwistle died.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. 2006. Vegas, I believe. Yes. Endless Wire, the first album in 24 years in 2006. And then the latest studio record, 2019, The Who.
Yeah.
Album sales.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm curious to see how this goes.
Yeah. So let's see. 65. So My Generation, it came out in 65, 1 million. Wow. Still establishing themselves. You think it would have gone back, and done more than that. Who's Next? 5 million plus. I'm going to put the pluses on all these. I'm going to leave out
do the years too. Yeah.
Yeah. Uno momento, please.
I'm sorry.
No.
I'm just curious to see how if what the curve is. Is there a delta when it goes back down to, after the fame and fortune, well, not fortune, but the fame kind of dies out, and did they pull it back up, that curve?
Yes, I would say yes. So let's see. Here we go. I have this here.
What's going on here? There we go.
For those of you following along at home, I'm just rearranging my screen momentarily. So
for those about to rock, we salute you.
All right, so
yeah, I had to throw the wrench in everybody.
No, you're good. Yeah,
I just was curious to see, from, I mean, 1 million albums for the first, for what is that, 65? I mean, to me that seems like a pretty good sell. I don't know what they were selling for back then. What do you think it was? 99 cents an album or something back then, or $1.99?
Maybe $2.99, maybe $3.99. Okay, I'm almost there. Here we go. All right. So you ask and I shall deliver. So my generation, 65. So that was 1 million plus.
Wow.
Who's Next? Based on sales, and I'm not actually going in order. So let me address this. Let me do this because it'll make more sense to what you just asked for, as far as to see that, increase. So then you see like a pinnacle, then does it come right down? So I'm going to go based on total sales. So My Generation, the first record in 65, 1 million. Face Dances, which came out in 81. You Better You Bet was the main track off that. That was 1 million plus. So
interesting.
Yeah. So 65 and 81, same record sales.
Interesting.
Live at Leeds, that was 2 million, and that came out in 1970. So you're kind of, based on those data points, not really moving around too much.
Right.
2 million. Now you go to 5 million.
Well,
so that's Who's Next. That's in 71. So the Live at Leeds, I guess historically, do live records maybe sell less compared to their, original releases? Probably so. But now they started to jump up, right? You got Who's Next at 5 million. Now you go, that's in 1971. Now now you're starting to pick up. Now you go to 73, Quadrophenia, 6 million plus. Okay, wow. Now you're picking up. It's like that's right. Now, they've done live live releases. They've done Woodstock, which was 69. So they're going 69, 70, 71. Now they're becoming into 73, this kind of juggernaut, right? So Quadrophenia was at 6. Now you go into greatest hits, which I'll just kind of put in there. That came out, greatest hits and compilations, about 10 million. I don't have a date there, sorry. But Tommy,
I would think Tommy,
back to 69. Tommy is the best, is the highest seller. That's 20 million plus.
Right. And yeah, I'd be willing to bet because of sorry.
Yeah. And so just kind of the prestige around that
rock
release.
Opera,
and,
as it were.
And what they did. And I probably could have arranged those in a more simplistic manner, but My Generation, 1 million, Who's Next, 5, Tommy, 20, Quadrophenia, 6, Live at Leeds, 2, Face Dances, 1, and their greatest hits, 10 million.
The album reached the top 10 in the US and UK, and the singles Love Rain Over Me, The Real Me, all failed to chart highly, which is odd.
Yeah.
Very weird.
And, in that, right, were they're good, strong rock songs, but were they really singles, right? And that's what, like, in a more broader popular sense.
Right.
Probably not, which is, again, back then, you could buy the 45s for sure. Would any of those been released on 45s, which would help drive album sales, versus you just want the entirety of the whole record, which I love. I still love to listen to a record all the way from the beginning to the end. So
what would you do if you didn't have the little insert for the 45 for your stereo player? You have to try to center it perfectly. You're like, oh, it's not right. I kind of remember.
No, yeah, I think you'd be kind of like, I'm thinking, yeah, does mine have that? Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, because I have a whole bunch of the 45s Iron Maiden. I have probably 10 of those, and
That's
always on the lookout to see if there's any other ones that have been released.
So awesome.
And there was a few completely unrelated to the Who, but there was a few. I was at a recent record store, Bionic, over in Cyprus, and they had the maxi single, which is not the full 45, or not the full 12-inch, full record, but some of those were just a bit too overpriced. So it's like, all right, I look at it, but I don't really need it. I'm looking for like the $7.99 to $10.99 version.
We need to bring back Licorice Pizza.
Yeah. Let's see. Talked about the members again. Let's give a little bit of a biography on each one. Roger Daltrey, born 1944, so he's up there. Vocals, lead singer with his powerful voice, signature microphone swings. He did some acting as well. Pete Townshend, born in 45, primary songwriter, famous for his windmill guitar style, of course. John Entwistle, and he passed away in 2002, nicknamed the Ox, and has been touted by many as one of the greatest bass players in rock. And you mentioned it too, Stephen, known for his intricate playing style. So he was probably the most learned musician, if I can say that. Keith Moon. Wow. Keith Moon. Again, passed in 78. Wild, unpredictable drummer. Showmanship and his self-destructive behavior became legendary, and part of just being a wild guy. Hence his early demise, just by kind of just living a carefree, sex, drugs, and rock and roll for sure.
Well, he died of an overdose of sedatives, and ironically, there's a prescription for alcoholics that you take that keeps you from drinking. That actually kind of was that intended to manage the alcohol withdrawal, was kind of part of that as well.
Yeah, which is that's wild how that would be. You're trying to treat something, and that ends up being the demise.
Yeah, amazing.
Overall, still to this day, the Who remains one of the most influential rock bands of all time. Definitely innovative. Again, talking early in the show, just going back and listening to those early records, just the production, the songwriting, how they layered just different instruments, and definitely a major progression from when they first started. And you can hear, I'll say this, but 65, like that's like, yeah, that's 60, that's a 60s band, that's a 60s production. My generation was kind of dirty, trashy, and as far as just like just the mood, right? You can picture the studio with probably just a few microphones overhead, and probably playing live overhead, and that's it. But then when they got into some of these other records, and then certainly even just 4 years later with Tommy, and then in 71 with Who's Next, and certainly Quadrophenia as it built out further, it's like, wow, they really progressed from a songwriting and a production standpoint as well.
Yeah.
I never saw them live.
Did you? I never did either.
Yeah. And again, if I'm thinking back, if it was granted, obviously from 82 when they announced their farewell, they were doing shows at, I think the Coliseum, LA Coliseum for that tour, if I recall correctly. And again, it's more a matter of there just wasn't another opportunity that really lent itself to be able to see them. I've seen plenty of videos and live performances. And so from there, it certainly is representative, and you get the feel for what they're about. But I'm sure like some of those shows would have been probably some of the better, more lively rock shows that you could be part of.
The last thing I saw them, I was looking at YouTube earlier in the week, is why I wanted to bring this up, was watch a few where they played with an orchestra, which, most bands have done this whole thing now, but it's kind of cool to listen to how they introduced wind and string to their music, and who was behind that. I'd be willing to bet it was probably Pete Townshend, but that whole nucleus of that band, and even having Zach Starkey playing drums, like he fits perfect with that band. John Entwistle's not replaceable, neither is Keith Moon. However, if you're going to put somebody in those spots, to me, and this is where I think and this is just my opinion, please don't hate me for this, I think they could have done better with the bass replacement, because when you listen to the songs, and especially in my generation, like even after the second verse and he does those little bass riffs, I mean, you didn't hear that in the 60s and mid 60s. Like, whoa, that's kind of cool. And, and when you hear later versions of it without John playing it, it's not as pronounced and in your face, where if it was John, it would just be loud and in your, and so that's the only part I was a little disappointed with. I mean, Zach, like I said, fits perfect with that band. But I think they could have done a little bit better on the bass player front. But
no, for sure. So again, it's hard to follow one of the all-time icons in rock history.
Absolutely.
So Stephen, I think we're at the end of another show.
Cool.
Again, we wanted to spend a few minutes with you guys today, just highlighting the band The Who. If you're a fan, then you know what we're talking about, and if you're not, we invite you again, if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're hearing this on Spotify or Apple Music or anywhere you can stream, you can just plug it in and pull it up, and maybe pick like their best of or their greatest hits. That'll give you a good representative of the tracks. And again, if you're a rock fan, you've certainly heard most, if not all, of these songs. So it's an iconic band. Definitely, if I was putting together a top 10 of all bands of any genres, that they would be in that top 10
for sure.
For me.
Me too.
And again, I'm Stephen. Thank you for bringing up the topic this week. So guys, as always, we appreciate it. Make sure you go check us out. Again, like I said, on YouTube, subscribe. We got a lot more subscribers this week, so thank you.
Awesome.
The views are picking up. So again, do that. No consideration. Now I'm going to
plug it. Do we have a minute to plug it?
Talking. Yeah. Find it. Stephen, go ahead. Yes.
3 H's. And again, I like to do this just because it's not for my selfishness. Okay, it is. Scott does a radio show on Tuesdays, No Consideration Radio on 99WNRR.com. He sends me the link every week, which is cool because my job, either I'm home or I'm not. And I'm like, oh, yeah, let me put it on because it's good driving music. But do yourself a favor and check it out on Tuesdays. Scott, tell me the times again.
6 Central, 4 Western, 7 on the East.
Yeah, it's so good. It's such a great show because you will hear music you never knew was out there. And it changes from week to week. You know, and he'll take requests as well. So if you guys want to hear something, hit him up in the chat on there. You know, or those that know me, send me a text and I'll send him a text. But
yeah, I help completely.
I will not provide his phone number to everybody. So
thank you. Yeah.
But guys, do it. It's the only, put it this way, it's KNAC for those that knows that on 11. So do yourself a favor and check it out. Support him, support us. We really appreciate it. And like I said, and Scott said, if you have suggestions on bands or music or anything that you want us to talk about, we are open for business, baby.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as always, Stephen, appreciate it.
I appreciate you too, my friend.
And enjoy your weekend. We're at the weekend, folks. So again, you know, we drop new episodes every Monday, so that's why you're listening to it now. But until next time, we will see you later. Thanks again for tuning in to the show. We'll be back every week with a brand new episode. Make sure you check us out on Instagram at Talking Show, and also listen on Spotify or wherever you can stream a podcast. See ya.